All right, good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
What are we talking about, by the way?
Anything. We can just talk about whatever. I think this is just fun. All right. What is up, guys? It is Stu. It is another episode of the What the Fuck Gym Talk podcast, and this is the first time since I've set this up that I've had anyone in here for this podcast. You're the first one.
Sweet.
Yeah.
This is a sick setup.
I'm happy. It's coming along. It's getting there. It's seriously, it's just the best part is I wake up in the morning and I'll go get on the bike and I'll just chill. And if like anything pops in my head, I can just go hit the button and start ranting and doing my video or whatever.
Is that where we hear these rants?
Most of them are generally recorded, like not like this proper mic and all that. I have a Rode lav mic in my car. So I drop my kid off from school. She's over like by Myers Park. I clip it to the seatbelt. I plug it into the phone, put it on airplane mode, and I use the audio record button on the iPhone, and I just record it while I drive. That's why you always hear the Tesla fucking ape shitting anytime I'm like driving like an asshole. It's not, and so, but that's it. I mean, because it's a 12-minute commute and it's perfect for a nice quick podcast and just to rant, just one take, and then I'll listen back to it, and I'm like, yeah.
Do you edit?
No.
Never.
Love it. Never.
Love it.
I won't upload. If I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, you just swore and yelled. You didn't really get a point across. Like you were just more angry ranting than you were anything beneficial for anybody to listen to. Then I'll just do it again tomorrow.
So I always laugh because you joke about hating driving.
Yes.
But it seems like you do a lot of the rants, and so it's part of hating it.
Yeah, it's exact. Well, it's like it's the one thing I don't hate it as much if I can get some content out of it.
Yeah.
Right. If I can double dip.
I get my best ideas in the shower from randomly, and then I swim a couple days a week.
Oh yeah.
And there's something about being underwater, there's nothing else around but your thoughts. That's where I get these random ideas. I'll come home and tell JJ, I'll be like, I thought about this when I was underneath the water or when I was in the shower. So that's my place to
Do you take long showers? I take I like just stand there and just let the water hit me, and I just like I try to think and clear my mind, and she's like, "What are you jerking off? What are you doing in there?" My girlfriend's like, "What the fuck are you doing in the shower?" I'm like, I'm just I don't know. It's just something about this I like.
It's quiet.
Yeah,
it's quiet. I think I take average showers, but I think I said this the other day. I said, "Is there anything better than a nice shower?"
Yeah.
So no, I agree.
It's the best, man. Yeah. And there's like times where I'm just like. I remember I would just go take a shower. I don't even need to. I just want to get away. I don't want like my kid knows the door's shut. Don't come in. I just don't want to be around. I really liked the Primal Branding breakdown. We were obviously jamming on that off ban and then published. Let me ask you this. Do you enjoy writing more or podcasting now?
I think I like writing more. But I'm not good at it. Like I'm not gifted at it. Like putting that Primal Branding piece together took me a couple weeks. So it doesn't bother me to say this. Like growing up, I remember barely being able to read or comprehend. I remember being the kid that was very nervous to read out loud in front of the school, stuff like that. Now that I'm sharing my own thoughts, I do like writing, but getting the sentence structure correct. I really write like I speak. And sometimes when I'll show it to people, they're like, well, that's not a complete sentence, Brandon. I'll be like, well, fuck, if you know how to read a complete sentence, read it as a complete sentence, please. So, podcasting's interesting, right? It's an avenue to get our voice out. All of the best leads, relationships, connections that we've seen to make outside of your own circle of friends, I feel you're probably the same way. I think a lot of times you can be misunderstood on paper, and when people hear tone in your voice, like one of the things I'm awful at, I will say, is like email. Like I associate some pretty gnarly tone to an email where I'm really just try to say what I'm thinking, and I'm not trying to be rude about it.
Never exist in corporate world. That would not fly.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, I had that I'm looking at that book right now that I just shared with you, but like that wrote a chapter for a book. Like that took me a few weeks to put, 1,000 words to paper. So it doesn't come naturally, but I do enjoy the finished product.
I write like I speak as well. And when I brought the copywriter in, especially for the newsletter, I said the biggest thing from this is I'm going to tell everyone I'm using a copywriter, but I want them to be like, no, he's not. Like he's trying to flex or something. I want it to sound so much like me. And I do, like when I type, I do the ... So like, all right, guys, so you know that blah, blah, blah when ... And then I go into the next sentence and I put ... And I start another sentence. Like grammatically or
So do
APA, like I don't follow any of those grammar rules. But I think that's a cool thing when you're writing for your own thing. You don't have to follow a single grammar rule. Like I purposely, not purposely, but I like by the nature of how I type, my Instagram posts will have typos galore. I don't have a copywriter for those. And there's always some douche that wants to let me know. And I'm like, typos, that's my brand voice. That's my stylized brand voice. It's like I fucking spell things wrong because my mind is going 1,000 miles a minute, and I don't have the time to sit here and think about this like I'm writing a Shakespearean fucking play. This is one piece of content that one of the 1,000 you're gonna consume. I don't give a fuck. You'll get the idea, and I'm gonna move on. And like the fact that you can sit here and analyze this one random piece of content that came across your screen and spend 9 minutes writing me an angry email because I did theirs and theirs wrong, bro.
You know what's a weird thing? Like I'm a secure guy, I'm a confident guy, and I can't imagine how that could hit someone because like I explain to even my partner like Kirk from time to time, like I'll have him look something over before it goes out to the right audience that I got to be careful with, right? I will not even see the mistake that could be there. Like I'm looking at my own writing and I'm not half-assing this. Like I'm really looking at how do I not offend somebody? How do I not do this? And like if I use, like you said, the wrong there, I'm sorry, but if you know where to place the right there, fucking place it in your head.
Go for it.
Because like I don't know how that may hit somebody that might be a little bit insecure, but you know, at times, like someone will say, like, you know, have you ever taken like a spelling class? I'm like, no offense, man. I'm not trying to make this mistake.
The only part of grammar that's actually important, it's not the spelling, it's a parenthesis.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat, comma, grandma. Versus I'm gonna eat grandma, right? Like and that parenthesis can make can make all the fucking difference. That's really the only one that you might need to. But some of my favorite things, and it's come out of meme culture. You'll see the meme or the at Betches, which is one of my favorite female-driven Instagram accounts, and it's just one long continuous thought with not an ounce, and like literally where you know there should be a period, there isn't, and it's purposely just like you could feel someone just ranting that fucking phrase in their head.
Well, one of the most interesting things is we are going from in the business right now, a lot of years of in-person dialogue and lecturing and this and that now has to be textbook type stuff or learning management software stuff. Yeah. And I actually have to approach people on my team. I'm like, listen, I speak in my lectures with a bullet point and then I go. So like taking a lecture on exercise science or client avatar or our core customer, like if we are taking my notes, this is not going to translate into a learning management software. Yeah. So thank God I have people on my team that can help with that. But it's an interesting thing. I think that's why podcasting, I know I can get my point across in my tone and in my style of delivery. On pages doesn't work the same.
Did they make you do edits when you submitted your first like 1,000 words, like a draft? Were they like pretty tight on that? Like, we need it to feel more like this, or were they just that's your entry, go? Do you?
They did, but I, being nervous of probably producing something good, I made sure multiple people read it before I actually put it out to the publisher. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my mom's a very talented writer. So I let her read it. I had my partner, JJ, who's here sitting behind us watching this podcast. She read it. She's a very talented writer. She can grammar check me all the time. I had Finley, who you've interviewed on the podcast. Absolutely. Finley's actually
a very good writer.
I think she might have went to school for communications or marketing or something, but she's just a very gifted writer. So I had like my 5 core people that can evaluate my work.
Yeah.
And then selfishly, like this is the first time ever being in any form of a published, publication. Like I I took a lot of time making sure I did it right, even before I got it to the people that, I didn't want to, I guess I'm just saying it. I didn't want to be embarrassed sending something to the people that I was close to. So, yeah, there was a process with it. I think the way it went, I delivered it to the publisher, and there was 33 other authors in the book, or contributors, I guess you would say, and they took it for about 6 weeks. The thing I do love about it, they didn't tweak anything.
That's awesome.
Other than they removed one fuck.
Oh, wow.
They left in. I had 2 fucks. They kept one, and they left. They took it. They gave me 1 fuck.
They gave you
that
one of your fucks.
Yeah.
For everyone, listen. So Brandon brought over Winner's Mindset. It's created by Eric Severson, and then essentially he had 33 elite athletes, coaches, and entrepreneurs, Mr. Brandon Cullen included, submit chapters here, and it's kind of like I've got Tools, I don't know, it's the biggest stupid book I got here. Tools of Titans. I got Ferris's book over there where he essentially just went through and interviewed people. But yeah, no, I'm excited to dig into this. I'm tech everything. I've got electric bikes and car. I do everything tech. I will not switch to this though. I've not gone Kindle. I've not gone audiobook. And I need the tactile. I need to feel it. I need to be able to highlight on it.
Yeah.
I just need that. Even like I got my notes over there for the commercial real estate course I took. And it's just like, that was my first time.
Do you still write notes?
Oh, so yeah, I write notes all over that. And because it says it, and then I need to write it in my own way. Like I need to hear someone say it, I write it, and then I'll write it in multiple places. Like I was a kid that would just do note cards, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of note cards. But it's because I just need to write those words over and over and the definition, do it 5 or 6 times for each word, and I had it memorized.
So I think that's another thing talking about like comprehension. So I remember like studying for tests, right? In order for me to comprehend what I was reading, like my notes, and I understand like what part of my personality this is, but I remember writing my notes out. But then like if I didn't like the way the notes were organized on that paper, I'd have to like rip up that paper and redo my notes because they had to be in a specific order so I could comprehend and read these, because when it came to the test I could see like what was on my notepad.
Yeah.
Like I had to do that. Even now using Evernote.
Oh yeah.
Evernote's my final product from my notebook.
Yeah. I live on Evernote. I love the fact that I can take a picture of my thing and then deposit it into whatever note I'm taking notes on. I live by Evernote.
Yeah.
I signed up for their subscription. I didn't need it. I was just like, I feel like I need to give them money because I've been using your shit for years. And I just think it's a great note-taking product.
I don't even think I had an option. Don't you only have to do subscription now?
No, there's like a free version, but you only have 2 synced devices to it. So like out of all the, the phone and the iPad and the laptops and all that, if you want more than 2 synced devices, you got to pay. But no, that's a great product. What other productivity software, SaaS, anything like that do you use? Like I'm a Google Calendar. I probably live and die by my Google Calendar.
I hate Google. I hate their whole.
Do you use iCal?
So we had a system, me and my partner Kirk, before we partnered with Z-Growth.
Yep.
That was a learning curve. So we were all Apple people, and now we are all Microsoft Office.
That's why we're on the Teams call. That makes sense. Okay.
Whew. Talk about a non-user-friendly, non-tech person piece of software to use. Like Apple accepts everything, converts everything. Using, I do like it now. I will say that now, getting used to it.
Did you buy like a Surface, like a pad, or like a Microsoft hardware? Or
I won't do that. I buy the apps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're there. So we use Teams. We use Microsoft Office. As far as my own personal productivity, it's definitely Evernote. Internally, I organize a lot of thoughts, and my data dumps Dropbox.
Yep.
Even though we use SharePoint on the business side of things, but productivity for me is not so much what I use. It's time blocking. It really is. So it's not booking back-to-back meetings. And I know people on this call can be like, well, you have the luxury of doing that. Well, yeah, I do. And because I have the luxury, I do it. So like if I have a 60-minute meeting, there is a 15 to 30-minute block in between there. We're pretty good with our time. Like when I left the office today, I actually, every Friday night, I go into my Outlook calendar and I set the away message that literally says MAD, unplugged, Saturday and Sunday, see you Monday.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you put this out to your organization or to everybody? I put it to everyone. Like unless a building's burning down, like honestly, guys, let's enjoy the weekend.
100%.
You know what I mean?
That's Evernote. My Google Calendar is color coded. It's just an array. It's there's a personal color, there's a WTF color, there was an urban color, and it just blocked out so I can kind of see how much of my day is personal today, how much do I got some calls, whatever it may be. And then I use Facebook Workplace. I use that with the consulting clients, and that is just, it's incredible. It's the absolute best. It's the best thing they've ever made. Meta, Facebook, whatever the fuck they're called now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's absolutely incredible. So let's talk. I want to go back to the Primal Branding thing. The coolest part was that Patrick Hanlon fucking replied back.
That was cool, right?
I was like, I didn't even know the dude was on fucking. I mean, like, it makes sense he's on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But that piece was really good. For anyone not familiar, I talk about this book all the time. This Primal Branding by Patrick Hanlon. There's 7 elements of every good primal brand. You have the creation story, the creed, icons, rituals, lexicon, haters and pagans, and then you have the creator himself or herself or themself. What is you listed all yours out, and it's a great LinkedIn article for anyone who hasn't read it. I'll link it out in the description. But what was your favorite, what are your 2 favorite elements of primal branding for MADabolic?
Well, let me back up, because what I thought was super interesting. So you put me onto this book at the Self-Made Summit.
2019, October 2019.
You know what I told Kirk, my partner today, Kirk? I'm sorry, I'm saying to the group, the people listening, my partner, but Stu knows my partner. I said today, COVID was a 2-year thing, but in my head, it's a 1-year thing.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing when you go back and you're like, we were in this funk for a year, and Self-Made Summit was just 2 years ago, but it's 3 years ago. It's like, what's happening now? It's crazy. Yep. But I think you mentioned it in your lecture.
Yeah.
I was unfamiliar with the book. And I remember asking about it. I was like, what was that book you referenced? I've actually never heard of it. So I went back and read it. So, I was actually newer to this book because, it's not new.
No, it's not. Yeah.
When did this come out?
I mean, years ago. I mean, there's a couple of YouTube videos he made specifically when he launched. I mean, he's got a website. I don't know if the website's still really active, but he launched this promo video for the book, and I think I found that in 2017, something like that. So
and the weird thing for me is, this type of book is the only kind of type of book I enjoy reading. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, how do I not know about this? So here's what was wild for me, and this has happened a lot in my entrepreneurial career. And to summarize it is, I was doing things. I didn't really know what I was doing. I couldn't teach it, but in my head, from having a drive of figuring things out and trying to create an identity, I was doing all of these little pieces. So to kind of back up, even now in the exercise science side of things and teaching movement, we just finished today a 2-day training camp with trainers from all over the country looking to be a MADabolic trainer, right? There was a point where I was naive and arrogant enough to say, well, why don't you look at a training floor this way? If there's 20 people on the training floor, why are you not actually breaking the room down this way? For whatever reason, you had figured out a way how to navigate this space, and you just say it, in an arrogant way, and thought any person that lands on a training floor should look at it the same way. And then you had to build it into these systems. So going to this book, as soon as I opened it, it was the scientific way of what I had been trying to create that brought back this, let me be cheesy here, a primal focus on what you actually need to do to have a successful brand. So they were in place, but it forced me to go back and actually truly define what is the creation story. Could anyone in your brand actually tell you where this came from? So it was I would say 90% of the meat was there, it just was not organized. So going through that was a nice exercise to actually bring things into balance. And like, I have to thank you for it, because now when we bring on anyone from a trainer to a like think about it this way, even like like you said, a copywriter,
Yeah.
or a person that maybe looking at your branding, your vinyl windows.
Yeah.
We're going to make them go through a baseline education platform of what is MADabolic, and this is going to be a learning path. So to circle back, the two that really speak to me, the creation story, well, I'm bored of my own story, so I don't think that's very important. Yeah. Number two is, we probably have to pull them out, right? Because so what are the, you got creation story,
creed, rituals, icons, lexicon, sacred words, pagans and haters, and then you have the creator. Okay,
so you just recently did a thing on creed.
Yep.
Now, I actually want to focus on this because this is real interesting for me. So I looked at it in a completely different way that you looked at it on, and the way you described it, and you talked about your external creed and your internal creed.
Yeah.
And I have an external creed, and now hearing you speak to the internal creed, I almost think, okay, the internal creed needs some work. We need some work on that, because I think you could almost make an argument that the internal creed is probably more important than your external creed.
And for everyone, for the internal, so essentially creed being one of these, and most times creed will also be synonymous with something like core values. But there's, in my opinion, there's an internal, what you and your team, the people making the sauce are doing. There's this internal creed, and then there's an external, this creed that the members are going to know and own. And I do, because I believe there's a business culture and there's a culture on the floor, and they're synonymous, but there's also things that need to be understood within the business. We do things like this because of that. And I always give that example of, I never let any of my, one of our core values was be endearing. Okay, and then I always give an operational definition for each creed, and it's to put the customer first always, my customer first mentality at all times. So I remember back in my old gym, when I was an unrefined owner of CrossFit South End, I would park up at the front. And then when I got that building and I saw the scarcity of the parking spaces, I instantly flipped my mind. I was like, no, fuck that. Not a chance. So me, none of my tenants, none of my staff will ever park here. We're parking all the way down Pelton Street, and we're going to fucking hoof our asses up in there. We're going to always open the door for you when you come in for class. We're going to have someone greet you at the door. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And so those were, internal creeds that we had amongst the team to make sure that that client experience and it was actually being lived, because I was always embarrassed. What if I make a piece of content as WTF and I'm telling people anecdotally my creed is to be endearing, and then my customers listen to my shit and they go ahead and be like, endearing my ass? Yeah, motherfucker's always parked right up front. That's rude as hell. I was always always lived in this sense of, you have to live the core value. If you can't think of a way that you live it weekly or daily, it's aspirational. It's not an actual real live core value or creed. It's an aspirational one, and that's fine. You just better find a way to fucking live it day in and day out, or weekly, or some level.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'm learning right now, and it's real interesting, so with our company going to scale, right, it's very different than Kirk and I opening the first 10 locations and having a pretty laser focus on what we were going to do or not do as far as where we're going to open and what type of people we were going to open. And now we're going to scale, right? We're trying to do some great things. And what I like about this book, you can have some simple core values, but there's flexibility for the city, the neighborhood, the ownership group, the market. They can live the core values, or they can live this entire, the book is Primal Branding, but the primal code is the 7.
Correct.
You can live the primal code. You can still hold on to these 7 factors, but you have to listen in a weird way to what the neighborhood's saying, what it's very different in a sleepy suburb than a metro city. I mean, and a lot of my people are probably listening to this, and they're probably happy I'm saying this, that I'm softening on things like music. I'm softening on things like the type of person that has to be on the floor. And it sounds arrogant, but like I think what a lot of people don't know is like when you're a little guy, you have to make a bit of noise, right? People are like, why is your tone so loud? I'm like, because I got to get fucking noticed. Like, no offense. Like I got to earn the right to be in a lot of these bigger conversations. And then maybe we can tone it down once we've been noticed, right? So I think we're getting to that place. Like, by the end of this year, we're going to have 60 locations in our portfolio.
Yeah.
It's very different than 10.
And I wouldn't look at it as like softening on there. I look at it as like the fact that at scale, you have so many different humans coming in with so many different awesome attributes, personalities, backstories. And a franchise like yours at scale is going to go into neighborhoods that are not going to feel like a Charlotte. They're not going to feel like Arlington. They're not going to feel like the original locations you had when you guys kickstarted the franchise. And so I think it's actually a very mature sense of allowing others, because at the end of the day, you and Kirk are no longer going to grow the company. It's going to grow on the backs of franchisees that come forward and say, I want to rep this tribe. And you guys just help make sure that as it grows, you're able to keep it exactly what it's always been. Like you're there to make sure that this, transformer doesn't get away from you type scenario. But yeah, I don't look at it as softening. And I think it's good too, because I think if you stayed hard and fast on everything, that would impede the growth.
And here's what I say. So as part of the creed. So let's say it's okay to soften, but in our creed, I said that strength, structure, and accountability are the three things I want to focus on. Strength being the fundamental component of how our workout comes together, right? So that's not very flexible. Like that's going to be something that allows us to stand out or allows us to offer something different. What is your you don't have to be the best.
It's just being better. You want to be better than the alternative, better than the other option, better than where you came from. But being the best carries that's a heavy fucking cross, and that's quite the statement to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just did a huge, which I'm real proud about and ready to see how it comes out. We did a huge video shoot in DC with our team there, and the guy had me on camera to make a statement for some B-roll, and he's like, "Hey, Brandon, I just need you to say this one thing." And he's like, "We might not be for everybody, but we might just be for you."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
"Yeah,
oh,
exactly."
I'm like,
"That's it."
That's it. We're not better, but for a pocket of people that value strength, structure, and accountability, I think we're pretty damn good.
Yep.
So strength, the foundation of the program. Structure, what I think is important to us is the things like, and you talk about this a lot, it's like clean bathrooms, right? It's locking the door when the class starts. It's the fact that when you walk in the training floor, people are actually wowed by like the dumbbells are sitting on the crease in the rubber on the floor.
The numbers are facing up.
Yes. So structure, and then accountability. The one-on-one attention to detail on the floor, letting the clients know that you see them, that you hear them, and you're here to make them better. So, I mean, I don't think, talking about tone, I don't think I'm being out of line sitting here than in the pop culture world of group fitness. There is a lot more rah-rah, have a great time, which is great. It's fantastic. It's that. So, but I think when we get the feedback of like, man, I really feel like I was being personally trained in a group fitness atmosphere, to me, that is that accountability. We have a simple goal that everybody on our training floor deserves one performance-related cue to make them a little bit better that day, and one personal cue to let them know that they've been seen.
Yeah.
I think that's accountability. So if you were to say what are the things that make the most sense to me in the I think creed is the biggest thing. I don't care how big we get. I don't care If you're in Manhattan, if you're in Charlotte, if you're in Austin, if you're in Wichita, Kansas, if you're in Greenville, South Carolina, or you're in the sleepiest suburb in all of America, to strength is happening. It's part of our program. Structure, you can be clean, you can deliver that professionalism, and that accountability of letting people know they were seen and making them a little bit better. It doesn't matter, like, you can do that. And I think that's something that's real important to me. I don't know if I could lean on anything else in the creed or in the code that would stand out to me.
Well, the cool part is creed is number 2. And the reason being is everything you listed there then kicks into your other things. So you mentioned the accountability. You lock the doors. But right when class starts, that's ritualistic. That becomes a ritual, right? You guys have your momentum, anaerobic, and durability. That's part of the structure and all that. That becomes iconic and ritualistic. So, like, that's why purposely I think, Hanlon put creed second, because your creed bleeds into everything else. When I get a gym owner on, and he's hired me, and this is our first call or whatever, and I spend time on core value, I always see the glaze down, like, oh, fuck, we got to talk about core values. And I have a series of slides. You're on it. Alchemy's on it, NC Fit's on it, Orange Theory's on it, a bunch of top brands, and I break down what I've seen in core creeds and whatever examples, and I'm like, do you see where these are things that are cool in a class you'd want to steal, right? These are cool ideas. Well, yeah. I'm like, good. Guess where they fucking came from? They came from a creed. They came from a unique belief in not only your core values, maybe a unique belief in fitness, but that's where all the cool shit comes from. So when there's the guys, and I give them the hard time for just alchemy before class, they do it like their logo has a circle in it.
Yep.
Circles, again, if you look at circles and squares, circles are more feminine, squares and rectangles have angles and they're sharp, they're pointy, they're more masculine by trade. But they have a circle, and before class, everyone circles up. And just real quick down the line, and I've been in class, I've seen class alchemy of 50 people. And it just, John, Tim, Sally, do. Everyone just goes by real quick first name. Just real quick. Not where you're from, not question of the day, not wasting. I think it takes, honestly, about 90 seconds. Everyone just goes around and says their first name, and the instructor goes, cool. Now that we all know each other, let's work out. And I always thought that was super cool. And, I mean, I even had clients come to us at Urban and be like, because they came from a CrossFit gym that did like a question of the day. And that becomes a 9-minute fucking affair that I just don't have time for in an efficient class schedule. But I had people come like, man, there's this person I want to talk to, and it's always kind of awkward because I don't know their name. At the old CrossFit gym, they would write up people's names on the borders or anything we can do like that. And I understood where they were coming from, and I saw what Alchemy did. I was just never finding a way to make that work for my model. But that's what I tell people. So the second they give me a hard time or kind of glaze over me, I could see the eye roll. Like when I start talking about core values, I'm like, that's where all the good shit comes from.
You know, the cool thing, too, is like, I imagine you're not a circle guy.
No,
like,
not much of a circle
like
guy.
I'm not imagining. I know you're not a circle guy, but what I love that you put out from the content side of things is like, you don't have to be a circle guy to appreciate what the circle does in the alchemy environment. Tell me, because you brought it up there, because there's a brand that I'm not a huge supporter of, like, what happens on the training aspect, but as far as a business, I think Orange Theory for me is one of the, like, it's someone you look up to. Like, their growth is ridiculous. When you talk to people that have been involved with them, when they talk about their sales process, the way they got everybody firing on all cylinders. So like what
Ritual.
Yeah.
Number 1, Hell Week. I love the contrast of Hell Week. So it used to be yard day or field day.
Yeah.
And you guys turned it to game day.
Game day, yeah.
So that is iconic. It's also ritualistic. It happens on a regular cadence. Orange Theory has Hell Week. Hell Week's where they do all their baseline testing. Now, why I love it is because of the contrast. Orange Theory fitness. Soft, orange, energy. It's as pussy as you can get. Hell Week. I love the contrast, and they bring it out. I think they do it maybe once a quarter is too frequent, but it's somewhere probably around once a quarter.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's skulls with fire coming out of them, and it's this moment in time that allows that Orange Theory person to feel a little bit more of a badass, because that's probably where they lose people. After a while, they get bored. It's mundane. I'm like, I've outgrown you, Orange Theory, and it gives that opportunity. So that was a ritual I really liked. I also like their lexicon. They do very similar to what you did, what I did. A lot of people have done this. 3 is a very good number. They create base pace, race pace, and all out. So for the cardio aspect, they have 3 speeds: base pace, race pace, and all out. And based on the programming, some days is a base pace day, some days is a race pace day, whatever it is. And people come in, and just like people like, oh man, it's durability day, let's fucking go. And some people like,
Sure.
anaerobic days, I'm canceling, right? I'll eat the fee, right?
Sure.
Same thing in Orange Theory. They have the same thing. They're like, oh, it's race day? Ooh, I don't know if I'm ready for race day. But that's what lexicon is. It gets people using language that only you and your tribe know. So
That's cool.
those were things I really picked up that I liked about them. I think ritualistic, also, if you look at the assembly line, and you can think this is good or bad, it is a beautifully orchestrated assembly line of people moving around the room. Say what you want about the exercise quality and the type of exercises, but I mean, like, I just picture a guy like a conductor with the fucking sticks just crushing, and like, boom, switch. And I mean, you put 45 people in an 1,800 square foot room, and I would challenge anyone listening to this to make as much sense of the flow. And I make sense, I mean, narrative sense. Somebody looking through those glass windows for the first time, and that's one of the brilliant things Orange Theory is. It's all glass looking into the studio, just like you guys have. It allows an onlooker to look in and, oh, I can see what happens. You move to this, and you move to this, and you move to this. That in my head makes sense. Versus, I always, criticize CrossFit classes. It's chaotic as fuck. It, like, one person's swinging a kettlebell, that person's jumping on a box, that dude's puking in a garbage can. What the fuck is going on? And it makes for a bad narrative, and I'm all about that. So yeah, those are the things from like Orange Theory I picked up on from a Primal Branding standpoint.
I feel like, so I have the same feel for, and people will laugh to hear me say this, one of my favorite brands in fitness.
Let me get another hit of that.
What do you think?
Favorite brands in fitness?
Mm-hmm.
As in like a brick and mortar studio?
Yep.
Barry's?
Nope.
F45?
I love what they are doing from a look. I think they are, to be honest, like F45, you want to hear it, you're doing what we do. You're saying what we do.
Yeah.
I think they're doing an amazing job. Their marketing.
Was that 45 it? Was that the one?
No, it's actually Pure Bar.
Oh, shit, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I love that they unapologetically know their core customer better than anyone in this whole world. Like I've done a Pure Bar class as part of we did they called it a bar crawl.
Oh,
so
nice.
it was a men's Pure Bar class, and we went from class to the bar to be honest. But what I love what they do is, number one, their footprint's beautiful.
Yes.
2,000 square feet, a single bathroom. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you think that build out cost? 50?
Easily 50. And it's funny, it's one bathroom and it's an all women dominated class. I'm not saying it's all women, but like, and then I think about like, I built out 5 bathrooms. God, I'm a fucking moron.
Yeah. And they're not apologizing not to find a male.
Yeah.
They're not trying to find a male. They are the best at finding the clientele that they specialize in, and they don't apologize. I love everything about what they do. I love that every one of their clients are a true believer. They'll buy those goddamn overinflated socks because they have a Pure Bar label on them.
Yeah.
I just love what they do.
Yeah.
What I find funny about, let's say Flywheel, that I do think is gonna make a comeback.
Yeah, I was about to say rest in peace.
Yeah, let me put that there, because I think someone bought the assets and the name, and I think they're gonna come back. But when you see like a spin studio that they're great at cycling, spinning, whatever you call it, right? And now you have to add these weights at the end because we're not getting enough balance. Like they're admitting there that, okay, the cycle's not enough. Where Pure Bar is not saying, hey, we also have this barbell class that we offer to complement your Pure Bar.
Yes.
They're just saying, do your Pure Bar, and we're going to target this exact person. And I love that about them. So that's one of my favorite brands that just, they know who they are, and they do it well.
I don't believe in the law of distribution for the micro gym and the boutique model. What you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. I don't believe in an even scale. I want the scale to look like this. Boom. Like one heavy down, one up. I don't want it to look even, because if it looks even, it means you started with probably one. And generally 9 times out of 10, you start with one and it's not as heavy as what you thought it'd be. It didn't crush like you thought it would. So like, well, how do I get a little bit more of the market, or some other guy's winning with the other thing, and you try to balance it out. And I've rarely ever seen it done well. I mean, it's very difficult to do. And I think historically, if you look at the top performing brands, it's just way down on one thing. And it makes the pagans, the haters of primal branding, super easy. Like for you, it'd be like, oh, there's no barbells. I want to lift barbells. Cool. That makes it instant. We don't even have to have a conversation, right? It'd be like if you were on the dating pool and you only wanted to date a certain political affiliation, and you get on your Tinder and you're like, oh, that's someone else. They're red or blue and I'm not. That makes it easy. I can discredit them instantly. I think that also versus the client who gets in and you work your ass off to get them in there and sell them and the lead nurture and all that, and then they put out in 3 months anyway because it's not what they thought it was, because you're doing a little bit of both.
Sure.
Some days your strength, other days your cardio. You got I don't see it. I don't believe in the law of distribution for fitness.
I think about the other 7 too. So the one I struggled at writing the most was the leader. The last one, leader or leaders or whatever. So I think a lot of people in our organization, our team, customer facing, client facing, I think my team would say, a lot of people would say Brandon is the leader.
Sure.
Fine. Did I, at a certain point, start with Kirk and say, here's what I think we could do? And all of that is probably true, right? But it's so fucking far past that.
Sure.
So this idea that there is a leader is ridiculous at this point. I'm comfortable in front of a camera. I'm comfortable on this microphone with you. So Kirk, he is a massive influence in our community that hates cameras and hates microphones.
I know, and I happened to just get him on camera that one day when I was filming you guys, and we did that one where you guys were in the hotel room when you were in Houston for the one interview for the weekly.
So I luck out. I get to be on this thing with you tonight. I get to speak what Kirk and I talk about in our offices. I get to bounce ideas off Finley. I get to have a private equity firm that has merged with us to grow our cool company with a lot smarter people than me. So like there's this idea that there's this leader.
Yeah.
That's a small window that goes away very quick when you start doing some things. So I have some fucking fantastic people that make me as the leader look awesome.
Yeah.
I have the best business partner in the world that doesn't have to be behind the camera, that has he can put me in my place quick.
Sure.
With all my crazy ideas of what we should try.
It's for history though. So it's like, who's the leader of the, I'm from a Cleveland Browns fan, it's Jim Brown. Right? Who's the leader of, you think of the Yankees, like there's always historically somebody who might have not, it's not really the leader.
Sure.
But for the purpose of the history books and the purpose of telling the story, like Greg Glassman will always be the leader of CrossFit, no matter who the fuck is the CEO.
Yeah.
And I think it's super important for history because people who do great things, like shit will be written about your model, regardless of wherever it ends up. Further down the road, it will be referenced in a point in time when we're all, we're not doing in person, we're all wearing VR, whatever fucking happens in 150 years, whatever. But they will talk about these days where they're there, and I love to think in person's still there and brick and mortar's still there in 150 years, but there will be history text about this industry. And I think that's the important thing, is just being able to tie somebody for the something when you're long gone.
I get it. And that's fine at the end of the day. I like I'm in a place now where I've been in a leadership role for a long time and not chosen, to be honest. So so I grew up playing hockey. I was lucky enough to eventually be a minor league plug. I did it for a few years, amateur in Canada, and then eventually played in the AHL and ECHL, right? And I always found myself in a assistant captain kind of captain role, right? Not asking for it, nothing like that. From whatever, leading by example. The person that was okay with risk, all that stuff. The same thing. the one thing you talked about, I know we're going to do this offline, but looking at like your business of what's tier 3 called?
Like a tier 3 market?
No,
What?
the micro gym buying the building.
Oh, the Gym Real Estate Company.
And is that number 3 in Micro Gym University? Or
No.
could it be?
So I mean, it's WTF is the parent, and then MGU is a DBA under that, Micro Gym University, and the Gym Real Estate Company is currently a DBA under that. And if it takes off on its own, it does something unique.
Yeah.
I'll ship it off in a different.
So I
LLC.
think one of the things that like is the biggest hurdle for you there is your appetite for risk.
Sure.
Like you went out and bought a building in South End, one of the fastest growing cities in America, and teaching, hey, it's okay, you can go buy a building. It'll be a lift for you. Do you know what I mean? Because like you have that appetite for risk, like what could happen. So with that relationship of being the leader, like if MADabolic dies tomorrow, I do believe in myself that I'll figure something out to pick myself up and figure something out, right? That doesn't downsize the role I'm in right now and the support staff I have. Like me and Kirk, for the better part of a decade, everything from franchise sales to programming to growth to seeing facilities, all that, right? So now, like, we have a commercial real estate team. We have a social media team. We have an opening team, right? We have a program design team, a training camp team. So to say that I'm the leader, fine. So I have a loud voice.
Sure.
People are comfortable with me delivering a message. But I'm not exactly comfortable with the term leader anymore because I do think it's a lot more of a collective team at this point. And I think that's the huge benefit to this is not a corporately owned thing. This is a franchise system. And I think that's a big distinction, right? What is that book you love about the one
The company
operator?
of one. Company of
Company
one.
of one.
Yeah.
We are not that.
Yeah.
We are a well-oiled machine. We're a well-oiled machine, and I get to be the voice for a lot of smart people is how I'd sum it up.
And I think leadership really shows up when the shit hits the fan. And I'm obviously not trying to speak anything into existence. If everyone thinks in your company you're a leader now, wait till the day there's something bad that happens within the ecosystem of MAD, and someone's got to speak up on it. You know, I had this recurring dream for the first year that I opened up Bourbon Movement. I put those 2 big-ass fans into the ceiling. And I had this recurring dream, I shit you not, of them coming down during class and killing everybody. And it was the South End Massacre of 2017.
Like a legit dream.
Recurring nightmare, wake up in sweats, like to the point where I paid structural engineers to come back out to triple check. I was fucking paranoid. And because like that would be the thing. Like I feel like I'm riding high, I'm on this wave, things are good, and then I'm going to kill 30 people in a night, and that's all that's ever going to be remembered. But when tragedy hits, like whether it was COVID, like again, you having to be at the helm, I'm sure you had to have a lot of conversations with your franchisees and be a leader then. I think, and that's the thing too with the leader, when the history comes in, and again, we're not talking, you're going to be at 60 franchises when you're at 160 or wherever this takes you. And when you're long gone, it's the leader, I think, the thing that's so important is how that person showed up when shit went bad. I think I just told this to a guy today. He's got 3 locations. He's got operating managers at all 3. He's like, things are great. I'm like, things are great. Operating manager number 2 gets a DUI and kills a 7-year-old next month. How do you show up that next fucking day? Like, what do you do then? He's like, I'm this great leader. I'm like, you've never been pressed. Like, that's something nobody can plan for. But, like, that's when real leadership is going to step up. And that's when the history books and the fact, the primal code of the leader will look back on and be like, that was a guy that when shit went wrong was really able to show up. Because it's easy to be a leader when things are golden and great. But, I mean, for you guys, you guys look like an overnight success story. But you and me both know you guys are a decade and a half. You guys are over a decade of an overnight success story.
Yeah. Yes. It's also weird, right? Like today, how do you react to cancel culture. How do you
Yeah.
react to our society? Like, how do you be the leader? That's tough too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially with your grit and the style and the voice that MADabolic has.
Yeah, and for me, and I've said this 1,000 times. So let's. I'm gonna name drop Charlotte specific. James Yoder.
Yeah.
Not just coffee.
Yeah.
Best friend of mine. Not only is he a great leader, he's an amazing manager. I'm a good leader. I'm working on that management side of things. I think they're two
Different skills.
wild
Yeah.
skill sets. So leading is just kind of like you can lace up your boots and you can play guilty. You can make shit happen in a bad place. So like COVID happens. Can I figure out Vimeo and make something happen that's good enough to get us through this? Fine. It's very different than managing your people during COVID.
Yeah.
Taking care of your clients during COVID, listening to your clients. So like that's a skill set that it's not a natural great thing for me. I can perform. I think a lot of people in my life, again, JJ is sitting behind you. Like there's almost times where if I'm in a bad place, I'm probably going to perform better than just in a complacent pace. But that like skill set of being able to like manage people, to rally the team versus just like follow my lead. Follow my lead was easy in sports. The leader of a company, I got to work on some things to get better at the management of people.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I'm the same way. I do my best cooking when the kitchen's on fire, right? Like, closing on the deal on the building, having to do this whole retire bow out thing, having staff, that whole thing, taking the CRE classes, starting the new company, and getting sued by a tenant in a law kind of scenario. Like it was just, and I remember Jess was here. My mom was on the phone, and she was like, blah, blah, I'm worried about him. And she's like, I think he prefers it this way.
Do I get to press you on that a little bit too? Because I got to saw that.
Yeah.
Right. So I know it's your podcast, but
oh yeah. It's just a conversation. We just happen to be wearing funny hats with microphones on them. That's it. Yeah. It's just a conversation.
So like that, I saw that go down the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a lot of internet chatter.
Sure.
How did that, like in all fairness, how did that go down for you? You are a business owner. You own the building. You have an offer you can't turn down. You have tenants you have to think about. I know this was not an overnight thing. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. So everyone, there was an article that came out in a popular local publication where they interviewed two of my subtenants, two of them that were that no longer have a lease. Then they called me and interviewed me a couple times, and it was meant to be a hit piece. I don't think it came out as bad as I thought. It was. In my head, it was going to come out a lot worse than it was. But essentially, two tenants who got kicked out of their location early, shy of their lease. Yes, that's what happened. And the funny thing is, and I don't know if you saw that in the article, in 2017, I just wrote an op-ed to the Charlotte Agenda, to Katie Levins, and it was titled, "I just got kicked out of my building, and I'm not mad about it." And I wrote an entire article to the Charlotte Agenda, which is this publication, and I talked about how I get it. I understand this normal course of business, and I chose this very growing city, and I realized that I'm going to have to zig and fucking zag, and I'm going to have to move with it, and this is just the nature of the business, but I'm gonna bounce back. I'm going to be fine. And that's what I did. And unfortunately, when the lease, my gym's lease was dissolved, the two sub-tenant leases instantly get dissolved. It's North Carolina law. And it sucked. And I feel horrible about it because they were two good tenants, two good people. The big problem I had with it is that I fucked up big time. I was giving them below market value rent to the nines. It was because the gym was doing so well, I was able to do that, and I felt good about that. I was like, I'm a good guy. Well, guess what? Now that I booted them out,
meaning they can't go anywhere at the same price.
They cannot. Okay. There's nowhere in Mecklenburg County they could get.
Well, that's a growing city.
Correct. It's a growing city, and I do have guilt around that. But at the end of the day, what would have happened if COVID would have shut urban movement down? Same thing would have happened. It would have been the same outcome. What if I would have actually raised them up the fair market value rent. They would have had to tap out of that. So when that article came out, there was a decent amount of hate, and we've got a little bit of a controversial thing going on right now, a little bit of a lawsuit going on, and potential lawsuit, and it's tumultuous. I go in there, and it's not a happy place right now, and I feel bad because I like that individual. I think I wish them nothing but the best. It's just how shit went down.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck. I don't know how you unpack that. Like so I read the article. I remember the article, you being booted.
Yeah.
And didn't know you at the time, and I was like, it's a cool way to take it, right? I'm not exactly mad at the response from the owner. You know, you're fucking mad.
Yeah,
you're mad.
100%.
Like, whatever.
Yep.
You're mad. What's annoying is like the article, the comments on Instagram.
Sure.
Like no offense to the people that are not owning a business, that are not. There's nowhere to go with this.
Sure.
Like, it just. I know you are not out to punt your tenants at all. This is a part of business. They're the American dream to a degree. I know this is a fucking blanket statement, but build to sell, build to be acquired.
Sure.
Like it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? You had to rebuild from being booted out to create urban movement, to give other people an opportunity to eventually get an offer you couldn't turn down. You can't turn down what was presented to you. Okay? So...
And let's even just say you could. I didn't want to. And I'm totally good with saying that out in the open. It's not that everyone's like, oh, you got an offer you couldn't refuse. You can refuse any offer. I didn't fucking want to. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I've always said this. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. They're like, well, what if MADabolic one day sells? Like, what would you do? I'm like, well, what are we working towards, guys? Like, no offense. Like, my biggest thing is if my name is attached to MADabolic, if Kirk's name is attached to MADabolic, Kirk, and I can say this, I can speak for him because he's my best friend, right? Even more so, Kirk. There's a certain level of professionalism that needs to be attached to this brand and what happens on the training floor if our name is attached to it.
Yeah.
If that goes away, you fucking know a sellout will happen, right?
Sure.
If it can be maintained and we can grow with it and all that kind of side of things, like, but for founders to say, I will never sell.
Yeah. You can't predict the future. I remember telling this with Isaac and Deuce back in the day, and what we do if this happens or that happens. This is before the building was up for lease and all that. And I was like, I'll be honest, like it's all circumstantial. Like right now, if I woke up tomorrow and my kid has fucking pediatric cancer, I'm fucking wiping this entire place clean. I'm fucking liquidating everything I own, and I'm going to get God as her fucking doctor. I'm going to do whatever I can. Like, it's all circumstantial to this situation. You don't know what you'll do till you're there. That's why I'm like, I don't know. I don't try to predict the future. Like, what if? I'm like, I don't play what if. I play like right now. I have no fucking clue. And we can have the conversation because it's entertaining. And, if you had $1 million, what would you do? You'll play that game when you're in high school and a kid. I'm going to react as it comes in, and I'm going to try to be as calculated and lean on people that I trust and that have, that I think know more than me or can see it from a different angle because I'm too close to it. But that's the best you can ask for.
Yeah. I agree. I 100% agree.
No, it's we today. So I found Carolina Fitness Equipment. David Preble is the owner there. I know that guy very well. Great dude. He's a very good dude, and he bought every stall mat.
Oh yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to unload fucking stall mats? Literally 300 of them. They had them out in 2 hours today. I was getting quotes because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to sell 300 stall mats to people one-off, like a couple here, a couple there for garage gyms. The price to get them out of the gym would have been close to $10,000. I was like, and recycle them. Like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, that happened today. There was an issue with the bikes. It's one of these things where I understand someone getting mad on the tenant thing. But I truly believe this, as cliche as life is 80% what happens to you. It's 20% how you fucking look at it, though.
Sure.
Because you bury yourself in this pool of negativity, it's going to crush you. Like that energy could be spent finding an alternative. Look what Sky Ride, above Yoder's place on Park Road, the spin studio on the roof, above Green Brothers Juice.
Shit.
And
I don't know if I know them.
all right, you know Sweatnet, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Tom Gallagher, the co-owner of Sweatnet, he's Grace's husband. Dude's stupid smart. If you've never talked with him, he's a super smart
Did
business
Tom
guy.
did he do some photography?
Oh yeah.
So
100%.
I do know Tom. Yep.
Flywheel goes out of business at Myers Park. Tom goes and finds the bank that holds the first note on it and contacts them, and they sell him all the bikes, 50 bikes for $7,000. I'm thinking $7,000. When he told me this, we were both pretty drunk, but I'm pretty sure it was $7,000. He goes and opens up. He goes to Green Brothers Juice. He goes, "Hey, what would you rent me your roof for?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Because they have I don't know if you've been in there. They've got this nice access
which
point.
place?
The Park Road one next to Nesio's and Not Just Coffee. You can get up there beautifully.
Really?
Right up there. And they're like, "What?" So he struck up a deal. And I don't want to give away too much, but he's essentially got a really sweetheart of a deal. He gets 30 bikes up there. He gets all the old Flywheel instructors back to get the band back
Good
together.
for him.
And he gets 30 fucking grill covers. Brandon, he puts grill covers over the bikes at night. They run 4 classes in the morning. During the summer, they're just doing a 7, an 8, a 9,
Is
and a
this
10.
still going?
It's still there. I think he's just trying to figure out when the cutoff time. And it's Charlotte. He can be going into December.
Smart dude. I got to get him to start correcting by theirs.
Dude,
by writing.
He's absolutely killing it. But it's just like, again, that's the guy who, Sweatnet got hit as hard as anybody, with the pandemic and all. They're a fitness event company. Guess what didn't happen at all? The past is fitness large scale events, and he pivoted.
So at the end of the day, right? There are some shitty human beings.
Sure,
there that exists, but the fallout of you were at the bad end of a situation, which I do believe was what happened with you guys and what you may be going through now. Like, I don't think you're a shitty human being that is doing shitty things to people, right? You had to play the card that was dealt to you, right?
Yeah.
And at some point there is like, this isn't going to come off any fucking better, but I'm going to say there's some collateral data or damage. Like that's worse. But like, I mean, like, you're not setting out to fuck anybody.
Correct.
And like reading the, I don't know why I'm reading these posts, to be honest. Well, why am I talking about what's happening on Instagram right now? Who's yelling at? Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, so I see it, and anytime new development happens in Charlotte, you can predict the comments. 45% will be positive. The remainder will be angry because it's a brewery or an apartment complex. I've gotten so into urban development. My previous wife's dad, my ex-father-in-law, very well-known architect here in Charlotte. That's his thing, is urban design. He designs cities. He designs, boroughs, that whole thing. And him doing that really got me interested in it. But like, when I see that there's a new apartment complex going up or a brewery in Charlotte, just like you do, I'm sure you're like, that's great. Now we're getting closer to Chicago.
Sure.
We're getting closer to whatever. Now, granted, I think our commercial real estate prices are fucking outkicking their coverage right now, and they're going to make it really fucking hard for small businesses to set up shop.
Yeah.
And what, unfortunately, that does, if you look at urban design patterns, when real estate prices get too high, it blocks the small business entrepreneur, and guess who it allows? The chain conglomerate. And that, unfortunately, I hate that. I really hope that there's some conservation in that. But that is, I do think Charlotte and all the tier 2 cities that you and me talk about are needing for some rent control.
Well, me and James from Not Just Coffee, we know each other's business models well, and we actually, it's my business guy and friend that I can actually share real numbers with, right? And I've never asked you these kind of questions, but like, could you imagine like 2011? Starting, let's say let's just say Urban Movement 2011, you're going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
You want to do it in South End. Let's say MADabolic, we don't have a name. Let's say Not Just Coffee doesn't have a name. So now in South End, good fucking people from Charlotte want to start a coffee or fitness business, and you're going to pay between 45 and 50 a foot.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, if it's a new build, you're going to do it, and it's tough because you look at if it's an existing warehouse, you probably can still get in for the 20s. You can get in for the 20s up to the 30s, but you're going to pay for your own upfit. So you're still got to go. You got to go to the bank. Yeah, it's same money. It's it's just going to be paid to somebody different. But yeah, it's the same. My first location was 2,100 square feet, and I paid $1,750 a month. Okay, I remember writing a check for $1,750, and it literally, I remember staring at it.
Where was that?
On the corner of Mint Street and Carson Boulevard, or Palmer, right there. It's where that giant thing's going up. It was right down the street from Unknown Brewery. I was right there.
That was before.
And then I moved to that bigger standalone building that was by the that's right next door. But my first place, $1,750, and then my next location went up to $6,100 or something like that for a 7,500 square foot building, standalone, with 300 parking spots on the west side. And on the north side, I had like 32 parking spots, and they let me monetize those 32 on game days. I did $9,500 a year, and just I'd be out there drunk as shit, just drinking and tailgating, having a blast on Sundays. It was like my day off, and I loved home game Sundays. But I made $9,500 a year, and I was like, "This is great."
That's unbelievable.
It was so cool. But no, that does not exist now. Now that's why I like the deep end of Noda right now a lot, where you like kind of where you used to live, that house you're renting down over there by Artisan's Palette and all that kind of stuff. I like that back pocket. I like North Tryon a ton. Like, if I'm now thinking of opening a gym, number one, you better have an audience. Don't start with zero. Did you guys start with an audience or no? Because you owned the gym, but that was all the way down that was all the way down Pine, like that was down south. When you opened that South End location, MADabolic, did you have an audience on day one, or did you just kind of open up and?
The audience was so my old friend Lance Breeden that owns Ultimate CrossFit, who's just funny enough relocated to Noda, which is a block from my house. So it's weird how all this is. So my audience was in the fitness space, people that knew me from Lance's gym, and that the fact that I was in my early 20s and was still partying with everybody in South End, right? So like that was my audience. We had a gym in the Ballantine area, but that didn't speak to South End. You know what I mean? Like I had, I was young enough and cocky enough.
It was like an industrial little park area.
It was, I remember it. You know what? You want to talk about rent there? Guess what our rent per square foot was?
What?
$1.50.
Oh wow.
A square foot. That's what we paid. Oh, wow. Like just to put in perspective. But no, I mean, we took. You know, when you talk about that leap of faith, that risk, all that side of things. Like we pretty much, our strategy for opening, when we went into South End, where the flagship location is today, we had 2 weeks, and we were like, all right, let's throw 2 VIP classes a day, and we did
that, like invite only, like people we know.
It was like so like go your favorite bar, invite all of their bartenders. Where you get your haircut, invite all the salon people. The run club you're in, bring these people. All we did, we were. If you think about this now like has more of a meticulous way you do this for opening a grassroots strategy. But we just were like, find the fucking cool people in the city and like get them in a room and like wow them in the class, right? But we had 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, 2 classes a day, 15 people in a class, and we rammed these classes. Yeah. And all we did was, at the end of those 2 weeks, I think we offered a discount off like a founding membership. So by the time we opened Halloween of 2011, we opened with 40 founding members. We didn't have a strategy. Yeah. It was like, you know, the people you like to drink with often, and their friends that like to drink, like that was the strategy. Yep. Now it's actually really part of a strategy. But no, we didn't really we had confidence in ourselves. And I've always, and I know we talk about this a lot, but like for people that don't live in Charlotte, it's a special place.
Sure.
Like it is a like, hey, we love going to these other great cities, but I always say to my partner JJ and I, we travel a ton. When we come home, we could be from the greatest cities in America, the New Yorks, the whatever. When you land in Charlotte Douglas, there's something special about going to baggage claim. You're running into a lot of young people that are fit.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you get your car, you're driving, you see our beautiful, clean skyline. You're like, this is just a good city to live in.
Yeah. They need to clean up Wilkinson more so that commute is a little bit better.
Yeah, they do.
But no, you're 100% correct. I remember, and you just had Colby on, right? Correct?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So Colby, remember when he was kicking off Moxie? Remember the company? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember he did that Moxie crawl. It's like a bar crawl, just a bunch of gyms.
Yep.
And I remember you guys were one of the last stops, I think, on the crawl. And I followed the group because they stopped at CrossFit South End, and we had a bunch of members do it. And after every group went through here, my place, because I had some beers and stuff at our place, we let people, and then I heard they were ending at your place. That was, I think, the first time I'd ever stepped foot in MADabolic South End was that Moxie crawl. It's so funny, man. It's, we talk about that, even like the Tiber Creek news. Like, you want to talk about something that like pierces my heart is that Tiber Creek news. My first Christmas here. So I moved here in end of 2009. Didn't know anybody. Moved my best friend from college down. I was managing a global gym. I was like, hey, I'll get you a job as a trainer. Just move down here with me. We didn't go back to Ohio for Christmas the first 2 years, but we knew the bartenders at Tiber Creek, and they let us come. One of the bartenders opened up on Christmas Day, and we spent Christmas Day inside of Tiber Creek, not open to the public at all, and just stayed there, and they cooked food for us. We ate and drank, and it was the most. Anyway, so like when I think of like, oh, I'm all about development, and then I saw the Tiber Creek development, I was like,
I know.
Oh God, that fucking stings for a second. Yeah. But I still got to be pro development. Pro development. Yeah. Let me ask you this: if you guys ever got leased, kicked out of South End, just got too expensive for the model? Have you guys ever thought about that? Because earlier you said something that was interesting. You said you took a risk on buying the building, and the more I think about it now, no, I would have taken a risk by not guarantee myself a home.
Yeah. We didn't have the option.
Yeah.
So Browder.
I know Browder, yeah.
Yeah, so Matt Browder and his
wife.
What's the company? It's Browder.
His wife Chelsea Browder. Is that his wife? Or the other Browder,
I don't know
sister
if
or something?
Still husband
Got
and wife.
It. Noted. Okay.
But yeah.
She was my broker for a minute.
Yeah. So both I know them both together. I know them both independently. Good people. But Matt and his company, they've done great buying real estate in the South End area. So we tried to ask, is it a possibility to have a first right of refusal on purchasing it?
Sure.
he kind of was like,
let's say not even purchase. If you guys ever, let's just say when lease time comes due, like, do you guys ever picture, like, what would our backup plan be if for whatever reason the new fair market value rate, like, when are you up for renewal on the South End location?
We have another 6 years that
Great.
we're guaranteed to be okay with.
Yeah.
So like we have to act on renewals and stuff like that, which is fine, but we're protected to do it, and we're not in a place that's not okay. I don't know, honestly. I think at that point, like,
you got enough franchise. You could sundown your HQ if you needed to, because you couldn't find a South End replacement.
We could, and we also could afford to do something stupid too.
Yeah, got it.
So it's like it's one of the two. Our team's level-headed. Like South End is where we were built. It's where we plan to stay. But we could adjust if needed to.
Yeah.
But it's tough to own real estate in Charlotte these days.
It's
commercial
hard.
Specifically.
It is, and but the cool thing is you have enough good connections. Like my interactions with Yoder only exhibit. He came by the spot the other day to go check out that lounge furniture, which, by the way, thank you for making the connection on that. And but like, if Yoder and you wanted to go in on a building and you're going to put a nice fat source of drywall in between so you guys don't fucking piss off his coffee customers, you guys could totally do that. I mean, that's the great thing about real estate's a tough thing to do on your own. But if you have the right partner and someone to split the risk with, it's more feasible than just Argos and Portman Holdings, all the big players that fucking own all the real estate. Yeah. And, it's those guys and Greek guys.
Yep.
Greek people own all the fucking real estate in South End.
You just got canceled.
Yeah.
By the way. But the other thing too is like James gets it more than us. But the one thing that's nice is like if you're offering a product, so the way that commercial is working now, and because of the work from home culture, they have to provide value for their tenants in these spaces. Yeah. So like there's interesting buildings that are popping up and saying like, we need an anchor tenant. We want you to be there. So I think there's always that play there too. The one thing that's nice is when you're starting off, you're making a financial decision, right? In the middle, as you're growing, you sometimes have to make some emotional decisions. I think where we sit now, we can just make a strategic decision. We don't have to make an emotional decision. If the right opportunity pops up, we'll do it. Like, so for instance, like we have our 2 locations in Charlotte. I think we will do a third, but I don't have to do a third tomorrow.
Sure.
The Noda area you like, I love Noda.
Yeah.
I think that's the place 2 years from now you need to be. But I'm not going to pay for 2 years from now.
Sure.
But if the right opportunity makes the building more attractive today, I'll look at it.
Yeah.
I also love where we're doing this podcast in the west side of town of Charlotte. I love what's happening here.
Oh, it's awesome. You guys had your party there. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
We were on the roof. Jess and I were up there drinking, and I was like, "What the?" I'm like, "Oh, I think Brandon and them are falling out. I think that's their party now." I saw something about that. Like, yeah, I mean, this is a cool little pocket. I'm excited about the growth here. But yeah, that's interesting. You and me have talked about it because I remember you wanted to be able to do an uptown. Nobody's been able to pierce the veil of uptown. Now, granted, I wouldn't want to be in uptown right now either. Not enough people, not enough density. It's just not there.
So selfishly, I'm a city person.
Yeah, me too.
I think when the kids get out of the house, I think me and my girl JJ will find a beautiful loft somewhere in a beautiful city, and that's what we'll do. So selfishly, I want to do a fucking sick MADabolic in downtown Charlotte or uptown Charlotte because that's where we live.
Yep.
I mean, we're going to open multiple units in DC this year. We're going to do Brooklyn and Williamsburg. We're going to do cities, but the city I live in, to be able to do like a posh, like MADabolic in our uptown area, if it bounces back, which to be honest, like jury's out. We don't like what's going to happen with our cities. No one knows that right now. I'm a big believer that we will return to normal.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a hope, but like if our cities die, the whole world has to regroup and look at the world differently. Like, do the suburbs become the cool place to live? Fine. Like, maybe that's what it is. But as of right now, like if cities make their way back, I would love selfishly to do an uptown Charlotte location.
And I'm the same way. Before I had my kid, I was like, I always want to just do a year. I want to pay above market value rent. I want to get just completely crushed on the rent. I want floor to ceiling glass. I want a fucking loft. I want to look out and get skyline views every damn morning. That's what I want. And then they never came. And then, Jess and I joke now, like, we're just like, all right, when's Francie 18? Like, how many more years left? 14 more years? All right, we got it. But I love a city vibe. Like what me and her just went up to Boston for like a fuck off weekend and just hang out. It's my favorite city. But yes, there is something super just powerful there. But for Charlotte to turn back on there, the banks have to get everyone to come back in. And I know everyone listening to this that works at the bank, you probably don't want to. I don't care if it's 3 days in, 2 days at home, whatever the fuck it is. I need everybody to come back into the bank. That'll get everyone back into Uptown. And then the problem with Uptown is there's not livability. There's 2 grocery stores. One of them sucks ass. One of them's a Whole Foods. So you got that shitty Harris Teeter over by Graham Street.
Yep.
And then you got the Whole Foods. And that's it. Like there's no retail. There's no shopping. There's no commerce. There's
no
none
living.
of that.
There's no living.
I'm hoping they can take the Epicenter that defaulted and take that from the shithole nightclub, cesspool that it was and flip it into a cool fucking place, good bars, live music, and really good shopping.
Yeah.
That would make that place something that warrants being across the street from a Ritz-Carlton, kind of scenario. Dope. Listen, B, I appreciate it, man. This was a lot of fun. If you have not listened or read that or read the fucking article that Brandon wrote, go do so. And then I'm gonna read your article or your chapter in here, and I'm gonna give people feedback whether they need to go get what winner's mindset or so.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a story about me and being 20.
About you being
Like
20?
it's like so it's so the story is I'll summarize it. So when I was 20 years old, I played in some pretty competitive leagues in Canada from a hockey side of things, and it was a different time in the world, right? But I relate it to like organizational structure and psychology, and pretty much it's a coach of mine saying, Brandon, you're not that good. Focus on what you're good at, or we're going to kick you off this team.
Yeah.
And like it blew me away from now being, 20 years older and thinking about the idea of like staying in your lane, be good at what you're great at,
Yeah.
and don't like overextend yourself. And I think the for me, I feel like there's like this weird overtone on this like idea of like being overly balanced today. And which is fine. I get that from like a personal side of things. Like if you want balance in your life, that's
Sure.
great. But I also think the idea of bouncing from career to career to career and not getting great at one thing is something that's not as common today.
Yeah.
And like my my coach, Dave McQueen, who has still been my favorite coach ever, put me in my place pretty quick as a young 20-year-old. And if you want to hear that story, you'll enjoy it.
That's dope. Winner's Mindset, kids, by Eric. Is it Severson?
I think so.
Severson?
Yeah. I've
Sure.
never met him, to be honest.
Dope. And you just got, and this was just a cold DM on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
For someone, listen, Brandon he has a private Instagram, right? This guy is on one platform and one platform only. It's fucking LinkedIn. But you like it, you do well on it, you put content on it, and you got asked to be in this book simply by your presence. And obviously he's going to Google you and find out you actually do good shit. You know what the fuck you're talking about. But yeah, that's just, again, obviously from someone like myself, a content creator, I'm just like, find a platform you dig and go all in on it. You fucking hate Instagram. It's like probably, it's not your thing. LinkedIn is way more your thing.
Yeah, you know what? Like Instagram could be my thing. It's fine, but like for me, it just distracted me.
Sure.
Like it was that simple.
It's
You can be an Instagram hero. You can do that. It's easy to do. Like it's fine. But like there's certain priorities in my life. I realize you have to be somewhere on a professional side of things. But like I'm sure you have a huge network and a close group of friends.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So like that's me. And like when I leave work, I do like to leave work, and I do like to like dedicate my time to the people that I love. And fuck it, Instagram. What'd you call it? What is it called now? Meta.
Oh yeah, Meta, Facebook.
Yeah, I don't like Meta. I don't like I don't even like the idea of Meta. So I'm.
Yep.
That's it.
I like it. All right, B. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening. Talk to you soon.